Howdy y'all, Dawson with Defender Tactical. Today we are going to be doing an overview and installation of one of our newest products, which is the optic adapter with integrated iron sights for Mossberg shotguns. So a little bit about this. We've always kind of avoided putting top-mounted optics on our home defense shotguns in the case that you have an electronics failure, then you really have no way to aim your shotgun. So after some discussions with some customers that shared our same opinions, the idea of an optics adapter, a red dot optics adapter for a shotgun with integrated iron sights came about. And so we kind of took that idea and ran with it. And this is what we have come up with. So a little bit about this. It is machined from 304 solid stainless steel. We did decide to go for the stainless steel to uphold our thread integrity. Initially, we were doing this out of aluminum, but the rule for aluminum is 2 thread diameters of thread engagement. And we were not able to get that to a satisfactory thickness to us. It was just a little bit too much on top, holding that 2 diameter thread. So the rule for stainless steel is only 1 thread diameter. So that is the way that we decided to go. Now the price you pay for that, obviously it's more expensive to machine and to buy. So it's also heavier. And so a way that we've counteracted that is we've included several weight reduction pockets here on the back side. You can see starting from the back here with the rear iron sight platform being raised and then continuing all the way down the entire part with these weight reduction pockets on the underside. Now this does feature a traditional and very popular RMR cut, and it does take standard Glock sights. We designed it for the lowest height standard height Glock sights rather, to go level with the emitter of your red dot to give you the lowest possible co-witness. It's about a quarter co-witness. Now if you want something higher, say maybe a third or a half co-witness, you can put suppressor height sights on here or any other Glock style sights, and they'll fit in there just fine. Now this will mount to the 500 and 590 as well as the 535, 835, 930, and 940. All you need to do is just be sure that you have this groove machined on top of your receiver here, as well as the drilled and taps for a scope mount. Now, as I mentioned, these are machined from solid 304 stainless, and we do have them in an armor black Cerakote coating. Now that is a little bit about the product, so let's go ahead and hop into the installation here, and y'all can be expecting a shooting video very soon as well. All right, y'all, so the first step in the installation process will be to install our iron sights. I actually have one here with the iron sights already installed, so y'all can kind of get an idea of where we're going to end up once we're done. So we'll go ahead and install the front sight first. So on the bottom of your front sight, you'll notice that there's kind of an oval locating lug there. That corresponds to a hole on the front of the optics adapter. So we'll go ahead and place that into the hole and be sure that the dot is facing towards you. And then I actually have a Glock front sight tool here. The head on these Glock front sight screws are very thin, so it really helps to have this tool. If you don't, it's a 3/16 head, so you can find something that you may have laying around the house to help you in this installation process. So we're just going to hold the front sight in there and then screw in the screw to secure it. See if I can get it here. There we go. And then you'll want to be sure that your front sight is centered and aligned properly. And then once you're sure of that, you can tighten it down. Just like that. It's actually a little bit off center, so I'll back it out just a bit. Center it back up the best I can. And then retighten it. All right, so that is the front sight installation. Pretty simple and straightforward. Let's move on over to the rear sights. All right, so for the rear sight, it is a dovetail mating feature. So you will probably need a sight pusher in order to at least sight this in. But we have found, at least to get things started, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker to just kind of, we've created this little jig here, and we'll tap the sight into the dovetail to just kind of get it started. You just want to be sure that everything is level and lined up properly before you begin this. And we'll just be using this little nylon hammer here. So you'll line up your dovetail sight, again, being sure that the dots are facing towards you in the proper orientation. And it doesn't really matter, but we like to go in from the right side. So you'll line up your sight, get it kind of started in the dovetail, and then just tap it in. And really you can tap this in as far as you're comfortable doing it, and it might be better to tap it in further if you don't have a sight pusher or something like that. It looks like it might be as far as I'm going to get it to go right now. So I'll go ahead and get this out of our little jig here and put it into the sight pusher. All right, so we have the optics adapter set up in our sight pusher now. As you can see, we have everything lined up just right, making sure that everything is straight and square. And so after you've gotten your dovetail started, you can use the sight pusher to go ahead and begin pushing that into its final location. I need to drop mine down just a little bit. Right about there should be good. And be sure that everything is tight and holding your optics adapter in there as it should. And you can begin pushing it in there. It's kind of a slow process, so I may speed some of this up. All right, so you can see that we are getting close here to having our rear sights lined up. So you want to get them as close as you can, and then you can back it off and check how center you are, and if you need to adjust it left or right a little bit more, you can do that. But for now, I'm just going to get it as close as I can, and to me that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and back off our pusher and get this out. Just like that. So you can see we have the front and rear iron sights installed on our optics adapter. The next step will be to mount it to your gun. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get this mounted to the gun. So you can see on the top of your receiver, you should have 4 drilled and tapped holes with some flathead screws in them. You got to be very careful not to strip these screws out. They are pretty tiny, so we recommend, very similar to the factory safety switch screw that comes in there, you want to get the biggest head that can possibly fit in there, and then be sure that you're applying a lot of pressure downwards and kind of working it back and forth to get those screws out of there. So first step will be removing these screws. I've got my flathead screwdriver right here. We'll make sure that we're putting a lot of pressure down, and we'll slowly back them off until they come loose, and then you can remove them and set them to the side. All right, now once those are removed, you can grab your optics adapter and the included T15 hardware that we have here. And one thing you'll notice, and what's kind of a unique thing about our design, is that we actually utilize this groove here on the top of the receiver as the interface point with the receiver and the optic adapter. So none of these parts on the side are actually going to be in contact with your receiver. We wanted to do that to avoid scratching up the finish or doing any damage to the firearm. So I'll actually demonstrate once we get this installed that it follows the profile of the curves of the receiver, but it actually does not make contact and uses, again, like I said, this groove here on the top in order to remain contact and also keep it located in center. So you'll just set this on top, and you can kind of feel those grooves lock into each other there, and you'll notice that you won't be able to move it side to side. So get your holes lined up, and then you can take your hardware here. There's 4 screws, and we're actually going to Loctite these as we put them in there, and then we're going to torque them down to 10 to 12 inch-pounds. So let's go ahead and get that done. So we'll take our blue or medium strength Loctite here, and you want to be sure to just get a little bit on the threads. You don't want to over soak it. So I like to use something like one of these wood handled cotton swabs here to get a drop on there, and then just touch that to my threads and let it wick on there. You definitely don't want it to be pouring out of the threads, but you want enough on there to be sure that you will have enough to keep those screws from coming out. So again, like I said, it's a T15 head on here. So you can screw that in. I'm going to go ahead and get the other 3 in, and then we'll come back and torque them all at the same time at the end. All right, so now that we have all these screws started, I'm going to take this little torque wrench here and put my bit in there. And I have this set to about 10 to 12 inch-pounds. And we'll go ahead and torque these down. All right, y'all. That is how you mount it to your firearm. The last step will just be installing the red dot of your choice. I believe we have a Holosun around here somewhere. Let me see if I can grab that, and we'll get that put on. All right, y'all, so I have our red dot here as well as the tool that came with it. And I actually already have these screws sitting down in there. So all you're gonna have to do is just set this in the adapter plate that we have cut out there. And you should feel those little studs locate with your red dot, and then simply tighten it down. Be sure everything is tight. And that is going to conclude the installation process of our red dot optics adapter with integrated backup iron sights. Again, these use standard Glock sights. You can use whatever standard height, night sight, suppressor height that you want. And again, with the very popular RMR cut. Now that we have this installed, I'll show you all that you are able to take a dollar bill and slide that up underneath the adapter on the side profile there. So it's not going to scratch up your receiver, cause any marring or anything like that when you take it out shooting. So if you do decide that you want to take it off, you'll be left with a clean gun like nothing was ever there. So that's going to wrap up the video, guys. Like I mentioned earlier, we will be getting a shooting video out on this very soon after we release this video and get the product up on our website. But let us know what y'all think about this one, and we'll see y'all in the next one.